Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Bourbon Basement. I'm Ryan,
And I'm Steve.
and today, we just talked last week, and I think it's funny that we said this last week when we did our Blanton's Gold. If you haven't watched that episode, I highly recommend you go back and do it. Don't make fun of me for the title. I'm leaving the typo in there. It says instead of we struck gold, it says we strunk gold. It's been that way for a week. I'm leaving it. I'm embracing the mistake and just making a joke out of it.
But
But
we talked about not being able to spell Eureka.
yeah, and what
And then you misspelled struck.
I know how to spell struck. I just I typoed. But I think it's funny that in that episode we mentioned that Blanton's was a rye heavy bourbon or a heavier rye bourbon, and it had that a little bit more bite to it because we had so many wheats as of lately. And so we're going back to the wheat apparently.
The sweet
The
wheat.
sweet wheat. So apparently this has been a very popular bourbon as of late. Did it just get released or something?
Uh, I think this lot just got released. Sweet Wheat was released all the way back in 2015. So it's been out for 10 years. I don't know if they do an every year release, but it is an allocated thing from 1792. So it's
This
kind
is
of,
It's been a very popular bottle that people are actually actively searching for here
yes.
recently. Like
I
pretty,
mean, it's on all the auctions and
yeah,
everything.
it's a pretty heavily saturated. It's not a saturated market, but it's a very saturated, requested bourbon that people are actively searching for. And
Very hard to get for MSRP.
we have two of them.
Yes.
Did we get either of those for MSRP?
Yeah, both.
Both of those for
So it was
MSRP.
pretty amazing. And it was a liquor barn bourbon drop that where we got it, and my producer and I both went. So it was allocated. You could get one bottle each. And the story goes, so they had some old Fitz uh, sevens, old Fitzgerald 7 years there, and I saw them on the counter. And when it said one each, I thought it was one of every. You could only have like one of each bottle there. I didn't know it
No,
was. Yeah,
one.
so they had a group of them sitting there, and it was the old Fitz, it was this, it was Weller 12 year, a couple other antique 107 maybe. There was a couple of
Pretty good bottles.
there was a lot of good bottles there, but it meant you could only have one of all those bottles. So I called my producer when I got the tip that, hey, there's a bourbon drop. And I called my producer and I said, "It's got to go, and I'm on my way." Well, our producer, she beat us there. And when she walked in, the last I wanted the 057 year.
I figured that that's probably what
That's
you
what
had
I
in
was
your.
after. But the last one went out the door, and what I told her when she called and she said, "Okay, I'm in the parking lot. What are we going after?" I said, "I want Fitz and I want the sweet wheat. I want Fitz and I want the sweet wheat."
Little did
So
you know. Oh, you had her to go because you each
yeah,
got a
and I was
bottle.
on my way. I was on my way though. So the she got in there and the Fitz was going out the door, the very last one. So when she walked back there, she did grab a sweet wheat, and then she called me back and like, "Where are you? Where are you?" And she tried to explain to me it was only one bottle out of all those bottles.
Yeah.
And by the time, my dunce brain got it, I was like, "Oh crap." So how many sweet wheats are left? Because I'm just going to get another sweet wheat. And
Right.
she's like, "There's five." And by the time I pulled in the parking lot, she called me and she said they're all gone. And I said, "Well, at least we got one." I said, "What else do they have?" And they had some allocated non-Kentucky bourbons there. So pretty bottles, nice looking things, really expensive. But I decided that, well, I said, "Well, we'll just get this one." Well, as I was walking, literally walking to meet our producer, the person that grabbed the last sweet wheat went back, put it back, and grabbed a different bottle. So then I grabbed the sweet wheat. So
What did they get?
we ended up getting two. I had no idea because I wasn't too worried about it.
Just that you got a sweet wheat
Just
out
that
of
I got another sweet wheat. So we ended up getting two sweet
two
wheats
sweet
that
wheats in
day.
the same day.
And they were the MSRP on these, producer, do you remember, is like $49.
Hmm.
It was not high. It fits the 1792 bourbon pulse kind of thing. They're all between $40 and $60 a bottle, I believe. I don't remember what I got my 12 year for or the full proof. Those are usually kind of the most expensive. But I think they were at or around $60.
I can't tell you.
So it was real crazy. So $49 is what this is. If you're getting it for more than $49, that's fine, just as long as you enjoy it. But uh, I was I was actually bidding on these at those auction sites.
And you said you couldn't get them for under $100.
I was bidding $95 and I never won
Never, not
one.
one of them.
I didn't win any. So
And they've been on there. Like I said, this
I
has been a
refused
very.
to go to $100. I didn't even know what MSRP was, but I said it's 1792. I've never had it. I'm not going to bid $100. So I
I've
bid
never
90.
seen an expensive 1792 bottle. This is a pretty mid-range. This is a very mid-range bourbon altogether. Like their whole collection, and we do have the whole collection over here off frame.
Well,
Oh,
so kind of a little history I was going to talk about for 1792, but we'll go. Oops, the
that
action
is the
is
second time that's been knocked over. Do we need to move this
keep it.
before there's actually liquid in it?
If it ain't technical difficulties, it's arm and finger difficulties.
I
Now,
no technical difficulties for me. I don't have an issue with my arms. I keep my arms pretty. I mean, I'm in one spot here. I'm within a good.
well, what I was going to say before I knocked over a glass with nothing in it, by the way,
I said
is
that we need to move it before there's liquids in it.
1792. They make things like, well, they make 1792 products, which is
If that wasn't
includes
obvious enough,
the small batch, the 12-year, the bottled in bond, the
foolproof.
foolproof, the sweet wheat. Did I say the 12-year?
Yes,
Single barrel is the other one. They may
we
have
got them
some
all.
others. They may have some others, but I kind of call that my 1792 rainbow because it's instead of the Weller rainbow, which I may never get.
They do, if you all don't know, they do have colored ribbons
They
here
do.
at the top, so it is technically
It's
a
kind of a
rainbow.
rainbow. I call it my 1792 rainbow. It's one of my favorite shelves down here in the bourbon basement. So it was hard for me to break up my collection and drink, but that's what we do here on the bourbon basement, right?
But he's got a replacement for this, so he didn't have to break any
But I
collection.
mean, we're still going to do the foolproof. We're still going to do the 12-year. We're going to do those all eventually. But this is just the first 1792 that we've done.
We did the math. If we, how many was it? If we didn't buy not one more bottle of bourbon for like the next year, we would have a year's worth of episodes.
No, we got at
Like
least,
with 300
yeah,
episodes.
we
So
got at
that's
least 300 episodes.
52 we 300 divided by 50 whatever it is.
It's 6 years, 6 years.
If
We got
we
6 years episodes.
if from this date
So
that we
don't you all worry. If I go financially broke, we still have 6 years worth of
if
episodes
we
left.
didn't buy one more bottle from this day forward, we would have 6 years worth of shows of unopened bottles in the bourbon basement. They're all different too. Like I don't think most of these we've done a show on.
We've hit like the so the history will be shorter because we've already talked about some of the
The big names.
distilleries and stuff like that that we've been in. But there's so many sourced bourbons now.
I ain't got
So
nothing bad to say about source bourbons because
some
Oki,
of them are so good. And well, Chestnut Hills is
that's
good.
sourced.
Yeah.
That was another really good one. I was a fan of that
I
bottle.
know. So there's a lot of good source bourbons. I was always kind of a bourbon snob where I think you distill it, you make it, I like it. But
Happy
this,
Friday to you all as well. Appreciate you tuning in. Unfortunately, it is not my Friday. I work tomorrow, but we're gonna still celebrate like it's Friday.
I'm going to celebrate for
He's
sure.
been celebrating. He's already had
I, I
a couple of
pre I
feelers.
pre-gamed for this episode a little bit, but I'm fine. It ain't nothing that not usual. What was I lost my train of
Why I
thought.
had to say Happy Friday before it was 10 minutes in the future.
Well, yes, I know, and I told you to do that. I'm sorry. Do get rambling. If I ramble, throw a comment in there to slow me down, guys. Uh,
I don't think there is a comment to slow you down.
it
I
will.
feel like a
I'll
little
see.
kick
I'll see
behind
the
the.
point from our producer, and I'll take a breath, and you can go
I
for
just turn around and give you
it. Uh, oh, I was talking about what 1792 produced.
there
So,
you go.
1792 distillery produces Kentucky Gentleman, Kentucky Tavern.
The
What
OG
was
Wells.
they produce a lot of the wells, and I forget very old Bart. That comes from
We're
1792.
almost
Do you
out.
remember when we were doing all those episodes about the best bottle under 20?
Yeah, there's a
There
lot
was
of
a lot of
1792s.
1792 Barton distilleries, and they produced those. So this was actually 1792. This was their premium. This was kind of their premium product until like 20, was it 2015 when they released the Thomas S. More? And that's kind of their ultra premium.
Ooh, and it's
Yeah,
probably $100.
I don't know, but I've got 3 bottles over there. We'll figure them out. I got good deals on them at the auction. So
Oh, I just now saw those.
yeah, there's 3. They're all like a test finish. They're kind of all finished in something else. But that's the
Ooh,
Thomas S. More. We're here to talk about the sweet wheat. You know what makes this one so unusual with 1792? I mean, it's in the name, the sweet wheat. But a lot of bourbons are weeded bourbons now. So wonder what makes this one so different? It's because they are
they
a
add syrup to their wheat.
no, you can't add anything. They are
I need to
a
know.
high rye bourbon. So 1792 is a high rye bourbon, and this one is a
A
weeded.
sweet wheat.
Yeah. So um,
Like I said, we couldn't stick with the high rye contented bourbon. We had to go back to a sweet wheat one, apparently.
well, I went with this
It's
one
been a
because
very, very popular theme here in the bourbon base for the
I'm
last
not
month or
on.
so.
I'm not on the I don't really know what trendy means because I'm old and I really am not into a lot of social media
He's
stuff.
on the wheats.
But no, this bottle is trendy. Is that how you do it? It's trendy.
He's on the wheats, folks. He's on the wheats.
This bottle is trendy right now because it is an allocated bottle. It is hard to get, and I've seen a lot of
You
other.
wouldn't think it either, because the other 1792 stuff isn't particularly difficult to get.
So the 12-year and the sweet wheat are the rarest of the 1792 products.
12-year was like one of the first ones you got, wasn't it?
I did get it at an auction though, but I still didn't pay a whole lot for
It makes sense though. He's always done this stuff out of order. He'll get the better bottles before the small batches.
it.
Like he got this 1795 Jim Beam back here before we had a small batch Jim Beam in the bourbon basement.
And your point is,
He does it backwards.
I'm a fan of aged product. I tend to go toward more aged bourbons. And so when I see an aged bourbon, especially at a good price, I like to get it. So
I feel like you set your standards a little too high though, don't you?
maybe I do. But
And
that's
then you feel disappointed when you have just the regular stuff.
but I'm not because some of it really surprises me. I mean, you think about the E.H. Taylor small batch.
Oh,
I love
that
that.
might as well not even be a small batch.
The Frank August small batch, it was fantastic. Uh, there's so many good small batches out there. Uh, but anyway, so let's dive just a little bit, just a little bit into the 1792 Barton Distillery.
Because there are more 1792 videos coming.
Yes, there will be. So we'll just dive a little bit.
It's not time for that.
Well, you can go ahead. I mean, because I am going to ramble, right?
Okay, if you all need to prepare yourselves for the rambling, we're going to go ahead and invite you all to have a drink. If you got some sweet wheat 1792 sitting around your house, or if you have any of the 1792 collections,
As long as you're 21 or over.
21 or over, we do not condone underage drinking. Uh,
What?
I don't
Why do you laugh at that? We don't laugh at that part.
no. We don't condone underage
It's
drinking. We don't
no.
condone any illegal activities when it comes to alcohol. We take that very seriously here in the Bourbon Basement. We always drink responsibly. But if you have any of the 1792, go ahead and pour yourself up a drink. Or if you don't feel like going along with the theme, just get your favorite bottle off the wall, pour a drink of it,
Drink with us. That's
and
what we're here for on
and
Friday
prepare for the
nights.
rambling.
We want to be
Take
a
off.
drinking buddy. And I'm going to tell you. So I love the show. I love giving you all a little bit of history. I love drinking some bourbon with you and kind of giving our opinion on it, whether we like it or not. If you all take the advice that, or not, it doesn't matter.
Everyone's palate's different.
It is, but I love to do this episode. But when I am at the bar, and my producer can attest to this, I do the same exact thing as this podcast at the bar to the bartender and anyone else who will listen. If I'm having something, I'm like, well, hey, that 1792 made this, and this was this, and then I just go into this, and I get a lot of
He'll
people
just
just
announce.
kind of walk away.
He'll announce to the whole bar, anyone that's sitting there, all right, guys, the notes that I'm getting out of this are
I don't go that far, but I like the history. The history intrigues me so much about this. And in school, I was never a history fan. Dates and stuff was boring to me. But the bourbon history intrigues me because it's hard for me to imagine all the work that goes into producing this product all the years that go into aging this product, all the cost, all the taxes, all the expense, that I can go out and grab a bottle for $50 and enjoy it because it seems like it should be so much more expensive on all of
One thing I will say about Bourbon County's education, anyway, is we did talk about bootlegging a little bit, very, very, very briefly. But they did bring up bootlegging in one of my years of history. God knows what year it was. But they did talk about booze a little bit, which I thought was kind of interesting that they were even allowed to do in school.
it. Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so 1792. So this is the Barton Distillery there, guys. It's in Bardstown, Kentucky. It dates all the way back to 1897, okay? So that's about all we're going to talk about it. It dates back to 1897,
It's
and it
old.
is the oldest fully operational distillery in Bardstown, Kentucky. And if you know anything about Bardstown, Kentucky, big bourbon city.
Yeah.
Okay, so
It's
this
pretty known
one
around here.
this distillery, the 1792, the Barton Distillery there, the old Barton Distillery, the oldest fully operational distillery. So a lot of history goes back into that. Uh, now, if you think, man, that sounds awesome, I want to take a tour of that thing. You can't anymore. They shut down the tours in 2022,
You
and
just missed it.
a lot of it may be because of the unexplained accidents that they had at this distillery. So there was some crazy ones, and I'll just go back. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about it because when I was reading about this, this is what it kind of
Probably
intrigued me.
stuff like people falling into fermenting
Oh, nope,
stations.
nope, wrong. But it doesn't involve one of the beer vats, which is where the fermentation. It
Here
just
we
it
go.
just wiggled.
I
It
saw
just
it
wiggled.
move.
It
Here we
just
go.
wiggled.
We're about to move it
So
all off.
one of the beer vats in 2019, the leg broke on it, and it spilled over 120,000 gallons of fermentating beer. And it also destroyed like three other tanks when it failed.
Right, just a minor setback, whatever.
But how does the leg break and this happen? These are unexplained accidents. And I mean, so I don't know if they thought, hey man, somebody's on these tours or sabotaging these things or
I've
what's going
never
on.
heard of something like
And
that
then
happening.
one in
You think that's
2018,
paranoia?
I don't know. But the one in 2018, so the big one in 2018, they had a warehouse collapse. All right. And they lost over 9,000. I think it was 9,000. Let me look at my notes. Yeah, 9,000 barrels of aged bourbon, not new barrels that they put in there. These were barrels that were probably almost ready to be dumped. And so they aged this stuff. They lost these barrels. That bourbon gets busted. It goes into the creek and kills a bunch of fish. So I'm sure they had fines and everything else on that. So then in 2022, they just said, forget it.
It was a victim of circumstance.
These tours are done. We're not doing it. Or maybe it's all because they're the oldest fully functional distillery and needed a little bit of update.
It sounds like someone's not keeping up with maintenance,
Maybe,
and they're
maybe.
blaming it on the tours. Like
So
we've lost
that was
hundreds
the
and thousands.
fun fact of the Barton 1792 distillery. But
I kind of feel
anyway,
for them. That's tough.
the 1792 part of the Barton distillery, it wasn't launched until 2002.
We can always keep our hopes up that something else will happen, and they'll see that it wasn't the tour's fault.
I don't think they ever thought that. That was just a little fun thing to throw in there. But maybe they did. Who knows? Maybe somebody from Woodford Reserve went over there and did it. And I say Woodford Reserve because
Fake news.
no, it's not fake
Fake
news.
news.
No, it's not. Because in 2002, when this came out, the 1792, it wasn't called 1792 bourbon. It was called Richwood Reserve 1792 bourbon.
Goodness gracious.
And then guess who sued the Barton 1792 distillery?
Woodford.
Woodford Reserve. They said that it infringed too much on their name and the bottle style.
It's not that similar.
I don't know if this bottle has changed since then, but they said it infringed. So
We
the
might have
court,
a second Woodford open up here.
not the regular one. There's the
We
double,
got double double.
but not the regular.
Hmm.
They said go. Go get one, produce.
Do we
It's right
even
back
have?
there. We got several of the small ones, and then we got the yeah,
Yeah, get the
that's
Kentucky
a
Bourbon one.
regular bottle.
That's our only regular small batch we've got. We need to get a new small
We
batch.
need a new small batch because I'd probably want to open this one.
You better not open that one. That's our
All
special.
right, so Woodford sued them because they said the bottle was too similar and the name was too close, and it infringed on their
I
copyright.
don't think that. I don't know if that bottle's changed, but I don't think that
Well,
that's very similar.
regardless of what we think, they won the suit,
Oh, we've already explained that our opinion
and
matters.
the Ridgewood Reserve 1792 had to change their name.
Didi, appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for the chat.
Oh, nice.
Welcome on this beautiful Friday
Welcome,
evening.
welcome, welcome. So Ridgewood Reserve changed their name to Ridgemont Reserve 1792. So Ridgemont Reserve, the reserve's still in there, but I guess that was okay. So they changed to that.
You
Then
can't really patent reserve in your name. Like that's just not something that you can
you
really.
remember when people on like live television and stuff couldn't say Super Bowl because they called it the big game, and there was like 2 or 3 years of that going around. That was
How
the
long ago was
craziest thing.
this?
I don't know, but it was the craziest thing ever because somebody patented Super Bowl and they didn't want to pay for it, so they called it the big game or the super game, and I thought it was the dumbest thing that I'd ever heard. I'm glad it's back to Super Bowl now, so I don't know if they paid the guy or what, but yes, I guess you can and stuff like that.
That's
Uh,
they didn't know that back
but
then.
anyway, so a little company, just a little bitty company in 2009 called Sazerac. They took over, or they bought, they owned. I don't know how it happened, but they got it. The 1792. They dropped all the reserve and all the Ridgemont and just became 1792. So that
Wow,
happened because Sazerac. Now, what else do we know about Sazerac? Do you know anything about Sazerac?
I've heard them
Think
before.
about the Sazerac Company. Big time distillery in Frankfort, Kentucky. Makes a lot of bourbon, a lot of allocated bourbon at that. And some of it's weeded.
Okay, tell us more.
It's Buffalo Trace.
Yay!
So Sazerac Company gets the Buffalo Trace products. They are responsible for a lot of that stuff. If they don't own the rights to the stuff, they still produce it, just like Pappy Van Winkle and everything else. So that made me wonder if Sazerac, because they took over in 2009, right? Well, 2009, that's when this started being distilled. Okay. And then this got released in 2015. So it's like it doesn't have an age statement, guys, but it's like an 8-year-old bourbon. They may have some younger barrels in there. That's probably why they ain't got a age statement, but distilled 2009 when Sazerac took over, a weeded bourbon. Sazerac has a lot of famous weeded bourbons.
Big name wheat
All right.
weeds.
And then they come and they do this and they release this. So that's kind of my thoughts on the Sazerac. I think they might have had a hand in this. And then if you've ever heard of Vine Pair, you ever heard of Vine Pair? I hadn't either. Thought it was a magazine until I started
Sounds like
researching
an
it.
app.
Well, it's a digital media company. And in the digital media company, the Vine Pair, if you can imagine vine, grapes, wine, all that kind of stuff.
Where's the
Uh,
pears come in?
Pair Pair. So I guess that's like what to pair it with. Maybe that's how they got started. But they
Pears.
do bourbon reviews and everything like that. And they said this 1792 sweet wheat was a good replacement for your Pappy Van Winkle products. So I don't, that's
That's another
that's
lawsuit.
their opinion. That's their opinion. I haven't tried it, so I don't know. But I did my Where's Pappy thing, and I tried Pappy again, the 12-year Van Winkle. I tried it against
It's our pappy. Just
some
leave it at
other
that.
weeded bourbons, and of course the Van Winkle 12-year one. But I did not have this one at the time, so maybe got to save up and get another 12-year Van Winkle.
Well, then you can compare it to the old Emer later.
Yeah, I can and try it against
Considering
that.
that's what you said was the closest to
It was
that
the
anyway.
closest, and Old Emer is still a good bourbon.
This closeness really wasn't that close.
Not to you, it was to me. And price wise, and uh, affordability and availability wise, you have to consider all that stuff because I
No,
can't.
you don't.
You do because I can't go out every day and get a Van Winkle 12. But I can go out every day, go to Total Wine and get an OEM. I mean, that's just the way it is. So 1792's recipe, they are 75% corn, they are 15% rye, and they are 10 malted barley. Now I've got to put a little asterisk beside that because that's
Here we
what
go
they
with the asterisks.
it is. That's what they were before Sazerac took over. What else does Sazerac do at Buffalo Trace? They're very secretive about their mash bills. They say it's a high rye mash bill or a wheated mash bill or a low rye
I'm
mash
surprised
bill,
they give you that
but
much.
they don't tell you the percentages of the product. So guess what 1792 doesn't do now? They don't tell you the percentages of the product. So
I'm gonna say this
before,
one's pretty high in wheat.
no, yeah, this one. So before Sazerac, it was 75, 15 rye, 10 malted barley. So I'm just saying that this one is probably 75 corn, 15 wheat, 10 malted barley, just replacing the wheat with the rye. Don't know if that's true. So that is a fake rumor that I am spreading.
That's fake news.
That's
Don't take our
definitely
word for that.
definitely fake news because Sazerac is not coming
They
off
do
their
not.
mash bills. They don't want any. It doesn't matter about the yeast strain. It doesn't matter that you can't get it. They don't want anybody to know even how to make it. So
Not even close.
that's right. Uh, but that's a little bit about all that stuff. I'm just kind of let me skim through my notes a little bit
Where did the
here.
name 1792 come from?
Okay, great question,
I
Ryan.
mean, I've kind of been sitting here thinking the whole time, like,
So
why 1792? None of these dates are lining up.
so 1792, the name honors the year that Kentucky became a state, the 15th state. It was in
For
1792.
any of those
So
who are
that's what the
racking
name.
their brain as to where the name
I
came from.
think that was in my notes that I had missed. So thank you for
I
asking
don't know
that.
how you missed it.
Anyway,
It's at the very
yeah.
bottom.
Oh, do you
I'm
got it?
looking at it.
Is that why you asked it? Did you
Yeah.
see it?
You said, let me skim through. I was like, well, that means he's at the bottom. I was like, I don't think we covered this yet.
Oh man. Well, anyway, so that's just a short, brief history of 1792. A little bit about the weeded, uh, and I say we get to taste it. Woo-hoo. So let's do that. Are you
If
going?
you all have finished your first glass or your second or third or whatever glass you're on, go ahead and pour you up another one. Uh, I know we already invited you all to drink, but now I mean, it's time to drink with us now. We're actually getting to the nitty gritty. So we got three.
I got one for the producer. Look at that little bitty thing.
I, I can't even see.
It's tiny.
Now, how is
It's
this
tiny.
even
I
sealed?
know she likes to try them, but she don't. She just wants a little sip.
Was that not? Did that not have a seal on it?
I took it off.
Oh,
I,
I was
I
about
I
to be
got
like,
tired of seeing you struggle with that, so I just took that off when we were. But I didn't pop the corn. So
no, that was a fresh pop.
the sweet wheat. I get to pour. I get to pour the
I
sweet
don't
wheat.
pour.
Hold on. I gotta measure, make it official.
He's gonna measure hit mine, but not his, guaranteed. Oh, he actually did measure
I did
his.
measure.
I thought you were just
It's
gonna free roam it.
no, it's half ounce. We do a tasting on a half ounce. You're not going to get this much if you go on a tour and you do a.
I beg to differ. Makers, other than their expensive one that they gave us, their special select or whatever, I bet they were over half
Uh,
ounce pours. They were pretty steep.
so what he's talking about,
Did we ever
we'll
talk
talk
about
about
that?
it. We're going to finish the show. This is the last show of the month, and last month I started. You weren't here. You were off. Uh,
I wasn't off.
you were off gallivanting around. Living up the life.
I was off the show. I was not off work.
So, but I started showing them what we purchase in the bourbon basement each month, and I kind of posted my own intervention.
Just talking about, did we talk about touring the distillery?
Well, it's part of this month's intervention.
All right, well, the intervention is coming to you very soon, but there will be a tour of Woodford, or not Woodford, Maker's Mark in there somewhere to be talked about. So, spoiler alert, I won't go into detail, I don't guess. But
We can go into detail a little bit later.
I will say that their pours were actually very generous, other than their really expensive one on their tasting.
And it ain't even that expensive. I
No,
mean, it's
not
like
if you get it there.
$89.
Yeah, not if you buy it there, but if you were to buy it in the store, I bet you they're $200 bottle.
This is good. You can see the influence of the weed in this.
This honestly, I smell a fermentation thing. Like it smells, what are they
Like
called?
when we walk through the distillery,
Yes,
you
it
smell that.
smells very yeasty.
You smell yeasty. I've got a rattle. I hope y'all don't hear the rattle on the
You're not
bar
gonna hear the
again.
rattle. Yeah, you know how we said we fixed our bar because it was leaning up and like
It would move with us, and I fixed it.
my side's good. His side's the one that's got the creak, so he's over here doing all kinds of stuff
A
apparently.
little heavier, and I like to lean a lot.
You don't see him when he's down here getting the shows and stuff together. He's like just going to town on this bar. I'm smelling a lot of sweetness. I'm smelling like sweet yeast, like nice yeast rolls. It's very it's subtle. Like there's no flavors that really just like jump at you,
I'm
and
with you on that.
it's pretty I don't want to say dull because that's not what I mean, but as far as like you have bright flavors or bright scents and you have dull scents. This is more on the lower end dull side rather than the bright floral fruity aspects that we get out of a lot of others.
I agree. I don't like. I'm not pulling any specific fragrances, uh,
There
but
a little bit of honey.
I get that overall generous sweetness. But like you said, nothing really jumps out.
You know what I would compare this to like very, very accurately? If any of you all have ever been to Rafferty's Steakhouse or whatever you want to consider, I don't even know if they're calling themselves a steakhouse anymore, but if you've been to Rafferty's, this smells exactly like their croissant rolls with the honey glaze on it. I think that's like a spot on description as far as my nose goes. So he's nose goes.
I'm on number one.
Okay, he's already done one. Uh, The tiers are okay. It's not the thickest, and it's not also the darkest one. I don't know if you all can really see, but it is not the darkest bourbon you've ever seen in your life. It does have a very nice amber color, though. And the tiers are, I'm not even going to try to show you all the tiers because you're not going to be able to see them. But I mean, they develop okay.
So this is a Sweet Wheat 1792. It's a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, and it's 45.6% alcohol, so 91.2 proof. So it's a real low proofage. You don't need a lot of
You can
acclimation.
tell that when you go in for your first acclimation
Yeah,
sip that you don't need a
you
whole
don't
lot.
need a lot. And those lower proof bourbons, a lot of people will say they drink smooth, and it's because they're not burning.
They're not burning.
Uh, Sometimes
You can
you
also
can
drink
miss.
more of them without getting inebriated as quickly.
Because there's not as much alcohol, right? Uh, but to me, smooth isn't just not burning because I can drink 130 proof bourbon and it be smooth.
We've had a lot of smooth
Yes.
130 proofs.
So, and it isn't about the burn at all. It's about how the flavor hits you from the front of your mouth to the back of
Right.
your throat, and then the finish that's there. Uh, Now that being said, to contradict what I just said, I do think this drink's smooth.
It does drink very smooth.
Just because it's a lower proof doesn't mean it will drink smooth. So just remember that if you are new to bourbon or something and you're just because it doesn't burn
I
doesn't
have
mean it's
had
smooth.
some I have had some very harsh 80 proof bourbons. They're just they're basically just all alcohol, which you get what you pay for. Like you get some of those wells, especially when you compare it to something mid grade or even high grade. They are wells for a reason. There's a reason they're so cheap. But some of them will drink a little harsh, even being a lower proof. So
Your a lot of your younger
yeah,
bourbons, uh,
like 2 years or
yeah,
less in the barrel.
and some of these, I tried one. We went down by New Riff. Had didn't get to go into New Riff. It was closed on Monday. I didn't know, but we were in the Cincinnati area, so we stopped over there in Newport. Went to that Party Source. Is it called Party Source? Like the biggest liquor store in Kentucky and in the nation. But the Party Source guy is the one that opened and owned and built New Riff Distillery because they were like, "Hey, we're selling all this stuff." Watch the New Riff episode, and it tells all that. But anyway, we went there, disappointed that New Riff was closed on Monday, but went into the Party Source. They had some bourbons there to taste.
Couldn't be disappointed there.
I tasted a 10 or 14. What was it? A 14, a 14-month old bourbon, and I was
Quick
skeptical.
math, year and 2 months.
I was very skeptical. Good job, son. Good job. Good job. You were really good in school.
Was it?
It's not because of smartness, because of lack of caring, I think.
I didn't want to take Spanish class. Whatever.
Uh, so But anyway, I tried that 14-month-old bourbon and I was like, man, I'm not real sure about this. And he said, well, they age it in the small barrels, the little small barrels. So then I was kind of excited because there is a local distillery that does that too, or started out that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I never got to try that. Yeah, right here in
Mm-mm.
town. And I never got to try it in the small barrels because now they've matured enough, they've gone to the big barrels too. Uh, but they started out with the small barrels. So I was real excited about trying that and it wasn't good. And I'm not going to tell you the bourbon. I didn't buy it that day, but it just didn't hit me right. It
You
wasn't the
can't
one in town.
expect a whole lot 14
It
months, but
wasn't the one in town. Have you done three yet?
yes, that was my third.
Do you want to start or do you want me to?
You've already done yours?
I'm already through three. I'm at the water level,
Have you been?
but I think I need to add more.
We were both sitting on two.
No, I've done hit three.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and start.
Start it up then.
So this is
Yeah.
another one of those that kind of stays true to my nose. It's a little more, the sweetness kind of goes away, believe it or not, on my palate and goes more toward that yeast and it starts pulling more towards savory stuff rather than sweetness. I do still get a bit of honey. There's some oakiness in there, not overpowering though. There's a very small amount of just like a tingling sensation just from that lower proof that kind of glides back on your tongue as it goes back. But it is very smooth across the board from start to finish. It's very it's evenly spread is the best way that I can put it. But there's still no flavors that are just jumping. It's hard. It's difficult to actually pull anything out of it.
I'm
It's
gonna
so simple that it's actually complex.
I'm gonna say something that may be controversial. It may be controversial to people that think all allocated bourbons are great. It may, and I don't, this is not a bad bourbon. This is a good bourbon. I agree with you a lot. And when you said you get a bit of honey, I thought you were going to say the bit of honey candy, and I was going to give you a high five because we would have been straight on the same page. I get that bit of honey, the candy that pulls all the fillings out of your teeth. That one, I get that
Is
with
that the
this.
one that's gritty? Like it's not just caramel, it's like a textured kind of thing?
No, I don't think so. It's the one in the red and yellow little
I
wrapper.
know what it looks like, but I thought that I remember there being texture to that rather than just
I don't know.
smoothness.
One of my favorite candies.
Are there like little
Probably why
crunchy
all
pieces,
my
like little
fillings are gone
tiny
out of my teeth.
crunchy pieces? No,
Uh,
it's all those caramel creams.
no, it's the bit of honey that
It's
puts the
Laffy
fillings out.
Taffy.
I don't eat that.
You don't like
Uh,
Laffy Taffy?
uh-uh.
Oh, I could down some Laffy Taffy. I've also got no feelings or anything.
Well, you
I
got good
couldn't eat
teeth.
it when I had my braces on, though. That would have been a no-go.
I can't drink all that. I'm gonna put some water in it. Uh, but what I get without the water, guys, the bit of honey, candy, flavor, sweetness. Uh, I'm not getting a lot of bread. I was thinking more apple if I had to try to pick another flavor. But what I was going to say that's controversial about this particular bourbon is it seems very similar. And I know the mash is different, but it seems very similar to the very old Bart. The smells
Well,
and everything to me seem very similar. This seems like a very old Barton on steroids to me. Kind of just aged a little longer, uh, but it has almost the same.
a little. Didn't you say this was like 8 years?
Well, I mean, they don't give an age statement, so it can have, any age barrels in it, just whatever flavor profile they want. But they just started distilling this in 25 or 29 2009 when Sazerac took over, and they didn't release this in bottles. They didn't bottle this until 2015. So it tells me there's at least some 8-year barrels in there.
Close enough to it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go as far as to say that this is
I don't think it
comparable to
is.
bourbon.
I can compare it to very old Barton, though.
the more it sits on your palate, the more that I start tasting almost just raw ingredients, like
I'm
the
very
wheat
far away from that.
and the barley and stuff. You get that grassy taste in the back of you. It's like you've just been chewing on a piece of straw.
Now with the water,
I haven't done the water yet.
okay, well, me with the water,
It smells a lot sweeter.
it it smells sweeter, but it brings more of the spices out. You get more of a peppery burn in there, especially in the back of my throat. Maybe I drank
Mhm.
it too fast.
I'm polar opposite of you on that one.
You get more sweetness.
Oh yeah, on the nose and the palate.
I get it on the nose, but on the
I
palate,
was savory
I
without the
get
water.
I didn't get savory at all with none of it. I got super sweet. The sweet wheat is sweet wheat.
I'm not talking like savory. I'm talking like bready status, you know?
Yeah.
But this one, that brings out the honey a lot more. That's almost more of the brighter flavors, which is kind of what I like to go for. I like the fruits, I like the sweetness, I like the oakiness. Uh, I'm not doing that.
I got to
I'm
because
not
that's
doing.
what I'm comparing it to. You don't have to do
We're
nothing.
not comparing it to anything. This is an episode about sweet wheat.
I agree. I'm not trying to compare, but this is the flavor profile I get, so I want to see how accurate I am, so I can tell them I was totally wrong. It's definitely not Ray Barton on steroids.
That's not the point of what we're doing right now.
It's always my point. So one day,
We're really just
one
straying away
day,
from the bourbon basement. He's just making up his own rules now because this has never been how this goes.
one day, Padawan, you shall
This has
understand.
never been what we did on the episodes.
You shall understand. Use the force.
Y'all got to back me up on this one. We don't do this on the bourbon basement
Use the
episodes.
force, Ryan. Use the force. I am your father.
Okay, well, while he's going off on his own little tangent over here, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you all what I think of this bourbon because I've done my water and everything. I liked it. Uh, huh?
It's very old Barton.
You're aggravating me. Okay, so what I'm gonna tell you about this, I liked it. This would be one that I drink on the rocks. I like the sweetness, like I said. I like the brighter flavors that come out, and it also still had the oakiness and stuff on the backside of it. Kelsey, don't don't influence
No,
him.
let's see. What was the comment?
No, don't influence.
What's the comment,
I'm
producer?
gonna continue. You're
You can't not read the comments on air.
I
Or people
did.
won't
She knows that I responded to her.
or people won't
Don't do it.
people won't comment.
Don't do it. Anyway, that's for me to look at and for you
Do
to
it,
do your
Rye.
own thing over there. This would be one that I drink on the rocks just because of the flavor profile that comes out for me. Uh, it's very smooth. Like once again, it has that lower proofage. So I think it's beginner friendly. The flavors are there. They're kind of difficult to pull out just because they are it's so simple, so it makes it a little more difficult to pull out individual flavors. But I do think it's beginner friendly, cost wise, and as far as drinkability. I do think that it has a good flavor overall. I think that the color aspect and stuff, it was there, but I mean, it is a little bit lacking in my department. I like a darker bourbon, but you get that with depending on your barrel and your age and stuff like that. So we don't have an actual age statement on this, so we can't really judge it too fiercely on that. Uh, Overall, doing what I'm supposed to be doing on this show and not comparing it to something else, this bourbon for me is gonna get a 6.9. I think that's pretty fair. I think that it's a very good, affordable, mid-grade bourbon. And I think it's should it be as hard to get as it is? Probably not. But that could be said for a lot of other bourbons as well. They should not be as hard to get as what they are.
I agree. I agree with the not hard to get as they are. So I'm sorry. I had to Google
Oh,
something.
like sister, y'all need to chill.
I had to Google something. I hope one of our viewers asked if we were broadcasting. I hope you found us. But anyway, so I Googled the mash of Varial Barton because I told you earlier in the episode 1792 products are high rye. Okay. That includes, and I said Varial Barton, Kentucky Gentleman, Kentucky Tavern,
Compared to what? Compared to nothing.
all
Not
that
comparing
stuff.
to anything.
All that stuff, right?
What?
You got to read the comment before you mouth at them.
They know that I'm responding to that.
I know,
said
but I can't
compared to
even
what?
hear it, so you catch me off guard. I don't even know what you're talking
I said
about.
compared to what? I'm not comparing it to anything. That's a rating based on what I just drank, not compared to anything else.
You know they're just doing it to aggravate
I'm
me.
aware. I'm over it. I'm gonna walk off of the show right now.
Okay, so my thoughts. Not comparing it to anything.
Thank God.
1792 Barton. It's very good. It's very sweet.
That's not Barton.
That's not
That's 1792.
1792.
1792 from Barton Distillery.
But this is just
1792 Barton Distillery.
Yes, but let's
Yes.
just call it 1792. Because you
So,
already drank the
Not
old
comparing
Barton.
it, not comparing it to anything. The 1792 very old Barton.
Compared to Rafferty's croissants. No, that's a flavor profile I was pulling out of the bourbon that I was drinking. I'm not saying that those croissants are better than this bourbon.
This is a great episode.
This is
I
horrible.
love this.
What?
episode.
I'm out.
You're not out.
Tired.
All right, so not comparing the sweet wheat to anything else. If you like a desserty bourbon, I think this is it. I think it's beginner friendly. It is very sweet. When they say sweet wheat and not just wheated bourbon, they mean sweet wheat.
I think that I've had sweeter though.
I have in lower class.
Now, what I will
bourbons.
say, I will compare it slightly to other bourbons. Like if you're going to advertise sweet wheat, I think it needs to be sweeter than what it was. Because I've had other bourbons with regular mash bills that were just out of this world sweet.
Okay. Uh, I have had sweeter bourbons too, but this one is extremely sweet. Just not comparing to anything else. This one is sweet. If you like a sweet desserty bourbon,
Come back for now. You all keep pushing it. I'm out. I'm out.
if you like a sweet desserty bourbon, this is it. Uh, it is beginner friendly. It's very good. I did not get a lot of flavor profiles that really jumped out at me, but you all got to realize this is a under $50 bottle of bourbon.
It makes you think when you're trying to pull out the flavors. in it.
Okay, so they are allocating this bottle because they just don't make a lot of it, or maybe because they want to make it more desirable. I don't know, but it is a $50 bottle of bourbon,
MSRP.
and it is very good at that. Now, secondary market and stuff like that, you're going to pay for it, and if you pay more than you want to just to have it, you might say, this ain't what I expected, because I've done that before.
If you can get it for the $100, I would maybe do that once. But if you want our opinion, get it for the 50. If you can get it for MSRP, jump on it.
MSRP, it's fun to
If
have.
you can't, that's
for
going to have to be a
s-
decision
a
that
good
you make
sweetener.
to take the chance on.
Now, comparing it to something else,
Let's not.
Very Old Barton is a high rye, just like the rest of Barton's stuff, the rest of the 72 stuff. But I'm going to tell you that this sweet wheat, and with that younger Very Old Barton, which is very, very, very sweet, and I think it's just 80 proof, which makes it real easy to drink. It is very similar to this. Now, how does a wheated bourbon and a rye bourbon taste so much alike? I can't explain it. But to me and my palate, very similar. And if you poured these side by side and asked me to guess which one was which, I probably couldn't tell you.
Once again, not what we're doing on the show.
$15 bourbon. $50 bourbon.
We don't do that on the show, guys. I don't know he's on his own.
Where are you at? Because I've always done this. From episode 1, I've always done this on the show. This is the whole kind of point of my show.
So what's your rating?
My rating on this, I'll give it a 6.5. So 6.5. It's good.
So he's giving Very Old Barton a 6.4.
I will tell you this: I will never trust Vine Pair again, because this is nowhere close to any Van Winkle product that I've ever had, which is only one, the 12-year Van Winkle.
We've had them all, and this ain't
We've had one 12-year Van Winkle, and this ain't even close to it. So I can tell you all that for sure. Don't care whose palate you got. All right, we've done our ratings. we've gotten heckled. We're heckled by our audience.
I've gotten
Oh,
heckled.
you have, and thank you for taking the brunt into that. But
Who
anyway,
heckles him.
let's
I
clear this off.
I get heckled for not comparing bourbons and just enjoying what I drink.
Because drum roll,
No one cares.
we're having another intervention. This is the last show of the month. So I'm going to show you everything that the Bourbon Basement has purchased this month, just so you will know what to expect in future episodes. If it ain't one of the 300 bottles behind you, it might be one of the 15 or 16 bottles behind us that you're going to try. So, actually, what I'm going to do is just move this over. Let's talk about some of the bottles the Bourbon Basement has talked about.
I thought you were going to make an episode solely about that.
No, you said that you wanted to do that, but it is 6:51. Dang it.
You're more than welcome, but I'm setting that one out. I'm signing off.
Really?
Yeah.
You wouldn't do the rest of them with us? All right, guys. Tomorrow, then I will do a video.
I wouldn't. Well, you'll be home on it. I was gonna say it is a busy day tomorrow. So
It's a fantastic day tomorrow and an exciting celebration. And for those that know. For the rest of you all, just wonder. But I'm gonna do an episode.
cliffhanger.
I'm gonna do an episode tomorrow, probably early in the day, but it's just gonna be a video. It's not gonna be live, and I'll show you guys what the Bourbon Basement has purchased this month and the intervention that's gonna come along with it. After that, then it'll just be regular episodes and live on Friday nights and all that kind of stuff. So,
And then
but you
his
sign
little
us off.
his
I didn't
episodes
realize
that he does.
I didn't realize this episode had went on for 50 plus minutes. So
It
let's
didn't
go
feel
on.
like it, but
It didn't.
has.
It was a fast episode. Thanks for all the comments. Because they do make a episode go a little bit fast.
I ain't even gonna thank y'all for your comments. You can keep those comments to yourself.
No, I liked them. Keep them coming.
I don't want them. Okay. Anyway, guys, thanks for the heckling. I'm always going to be judged for how I drink bourbon. It is what it is. Everyone's got their own preferences. I do it the right way. Y'all do it the wrong way. I don't know what to say. But all that being said, we appreciate you all tuning in, giving us a little bit of time out of your Friday evenings. We do enjoy the company as always. Look forward to seeing that episode coming out probably tomorrow if he ends up getting it posted, or within the next couple days after that, depending on if he wants me to do anything with it.
It'll be kind of like a live.
So look forward to seeing that. We'll be live Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tell all your friends. We don't know what we're doing. We're going to fly by the seat of our pants, basically make a decision the night before, do a little bit of research.
But it'll be something
Let it go.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah, it's always amazing here on the Bourbon Basement. Hopefully you all did go on to enjoy, though. All that being said, why drink alone?
When you could drink with us.
We'll see y'all Friday. Look forward to his episode coming out next couple days.
Hey, can I have a hug?
No. Hug the hecklers.
Maybe you need a hug because
the
you've been.
Hug the hecklers.
All right, I'm gonna settle for another warm Kentucky hug since Sweet Wheat's out. Sweet Wheat's what I get. So, everybody, cheers.